So, a friend actually sent me a prompt once again in regard to being able to talk about something and improving about something, and it revolved around the idea of Paladins. A good old great game that I used to play quite a bit, and the topic essentially is the peculiarity of the mobile game aesthetic that it possesses, as well as the concept of porting mobile games to PC and consoles. You know, here's the thing. I've always been a big fan of Paladins. And I think it's something that I legitimately have touched on in the past that games nowadays focus too much on graphic intensive products. But when you look at Paladins, it's very cartoony and gimmicky in nature, something, in relation to that of a mobile game. And it's true. But what's great is that Paladins was a platform that made sense. It was a legitimately fun game. More enough so that, it seemed like Overwatch took inspiration from it in its new system that's implemented as the new Overwatch 2. This game was, in my honest opinion, from my analytical perspective, is ahead of its time, as evidenced by Overwatch's inspiration towards creating a format that's reminiscent of what Paladin stood for. Talent trees, builds, various different skill expression in regard to those technical aspects. It was a really good idea, especially implementing it in a hero shooter. So you could be different types of, for example, like when you look at the roster, you could be different types of Sky. That is Skylar. Oh, these are auto-corrected champion names. These are not the actual names. I was like, this is not Skylar. This is Sky. Shalom. Shaolin. Send help. I should do a video on this just alone. This is crazy. Circus. Where's 7? No, they don't have 7. This is pre-7 days. We got drugs. Drogo's no. Ashley Ash. And Droxus becomes Android. Oh my god, I'm derailing, but it's just hilarious. I like having Khan as Ken and Genos as Jeans. Io is Oil. Ricky. Trauma! What? Oh, it's crazy. Why is Rom? Oh, Rom is in the word trauma. And Ruckus technically is Ricky. Yeah, Tyra is Tyranny. Yeah, makes sense. Terminal, Terminus. Yeah, okay. It makes sense. Yoga mat. Yagoroth is yoga mat. Stinky. Anyways, the game had a solid position, honestly, in terms of the gaming sphere and niche. It was its own thing, and I feel like a lot of people appreciate it for what it was. The only problem was that it didn't have the developmental backing or capability to push out updates in a reasonable time and in a way that actually made people want to stay. I feel like a lot of the choices of a lot of these indie games, and Dauntless included being somewhat of a cousin to Paladins, there was a lot of backfire when it came to the audiences and the player base's perspective as to how they would update their game. And funnily enough, I think it was because they were limited in their tools and in their assets to be able to do more. Technically, these are still somewhat indie games. Well, technically, maybe not necessarily, as they did have a massive population spike, especially in the beginning stages of their lifespan. But it was respectable. But at the same time, it kind of died. But to be fair, right? Every single game goes through that, other than like World of Warcraft, I suppose. So it's understandable. They're both free. I get it. But I feel like if they had the developmental backing, they could have been so much more. Dauntless and Paladins had incredible potential, more so than a lot of people expected or assumed. And Paladins, in terms of the mobile game aesthetic, could have gone so far because its gameplay was legitimately replayable and it was fun, especially for a lot of people, considering Paladins had quite a bit of a player base at one point, right? Because over time, it's hard to degrade. And I mean, the idea of like, as indicated by my friend in terms of topic, the concept of porting mobile games to PC and consoles, yeah, it goes hand in hand with the idea that gameplay is such a priority that is kind of being forgotten nowadays. Mobile games can be ported to PC and console and be done in a way that's right, especially have the right developmental backing the right developers who are able to optimize, and just a good group of people who feel like this is what should be done. You know what I mean? You don't need in the entirety of Tesla or AWS to back your company in order to make something like that happen either. The porting of a game such as that may not exactly be that complex. And I actually, I've seen the backend code of quite a bit of various gaming files for certain games. I can't exactly reveal it because I think it may be a little bit, I don't know, maybe it's NDA, but I don't know. It's been a while. But at the same time, it's all readable code. It's just it depends on whether or not you have enough manpower to be able to conduct the project without making feel like the developers, the small amount of developers you have, are being slaved. You know what I mean? It's it's one of those counterbalances. You just gotta have the amount of people ready to go, ready to do it. And it's possible being able to port certain mobile games to PC and consoles, and having the balance issues be conducted at some point later on would be a pretty smart idea. Of course, balancing, right, may not be a competitive likelihood to have a mobile player go against a PC player, but different opportunities, different doors open. It's a lucrative business. It could work. And, porting the idea of really fun gameplay, replayable games that, for example, only exist on iOS, like pixel games, or maybe some even Pixel Gun 3D, right? Or I could maybe see Infinity Blade also potentially becoming more PC and console oriented, especially with different controller binds. But you know what I mean. There's a lot that could have been done. Infinity Blade could still live on in PC form. You know what I mean? Rather than just be gone unless you owned it already in the past. It's like a rare commodity to have Infinity Blade now. You know what I mean? But that's pretty much it. That's my 2 cents in regard to that. Just improving off the top of my head. And it's just a shame because as much as I love Paladins, I know they'll no longer be making updates ever again. Servers are still up, but it is what it is. It was a fun game. And I just for the sake of me, my favorite character in Paladins was a character by the name of Seven. I love this character, dude. Being able to play this dude and theory craft a concept that was way ahead of its time, and then blow people up with mag dump, with reload speed, and then full on spring loaded was phenomenal. People couldn't understand how I could control mag dump without having cards to actually conform towards its spray. But coming from an Apex background, I was really good at controlling spray already. So all it needed to do was be in the right hands, and I would be one clipping people all day, every day, and people would be confused as to how they're even dead. Good times, honestly. And I know a lot of people probably heard me do a lot of it, but I loved saying his ult line all the time. Pandemonium 7's skin actually changes his ult line to something else, and his ult line is so fun to hear. He literally screams, "Your mind is broken!" And then it's like you hear the screams of the damned resonate around your headset while everyone gets feared from you, running into walls so you can easily super destroy them with headshots. Ah, good times. Good times. But anyways, that's pretty much my rant on Paladins in regard to the topic my friend gave me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. It would really be awesome. If you didn't enjoy the video, well, GG go next, But anyways, take care, guys. I hope you guys have a good night, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye now.